There are various policy tools to achieve Washington's goals: military action, diplomatic persuasion, technological suppression, economic aid, and so on. But if you look at recent history, it is easy to notice that Washington has favored one specific tool: economic sanctions. If you visit the website of the U.S. Department of Treasury, you will find a list of all the active sanction programs the U.S. currently imposes on regions, countries, to very specific groups and organizations around the world. That long list, comprised of 36 effective sanctions, covers every continent except Antarctica. The Obama administration alone designated an average of 500 entities for sanctions per year, just in his first term. That figure nearly doubled during Donald Trump's presidency. And then came Joe Biden. The vocal critic of his predecessor did not fundamentally alter, but has instead inherited nearly all of the Trump-era sanctions programs. Many of these sanctions have been imposed in the name of democracy, as Washington alleged human rights abuses. But who is to judge and verify these accusations, and who is to evaluate whether democracy is properly served with these sanctions? A strong weapon to fuel those sanctions is the U.S. dollar. It began in the late 1990s and accelerated after 9/11. The U.S. government has been trying to enhance the dollar's position in the world's financial market. According to the Federal Reserve Bank of New York in 2009, up to 65% of U.S. dollars in circulation were used outside the country. In more than 20 countries and regions in South America, Africa, the Pacific, the dollar is used as the de facto currency. Over the years, when the economy was strong, the U.S. would use these countries' money to make itself richer. But when the economy was underperforming, it would spread its financial risks to other countries.
The point is that as long as the dollar remains the only reserve currency for the world, actually it's the global community, the global markets are bearing the risk, including inflation risk, coming from the U.S. government.
The U.S. has also made it increasingly hard for financial institutions to engage in dollar transactions with sanctioned governments, companies, and people. Many of those countries that do not accept the American democracy would be consequently marginalized in the global economy. Apply this economic, peaceful, silent, deadly remedy, and there will be no need for force. That is according to the 28th U.S. president and arguably the founding father of U.S. sanction policies, Woodrow Wilson. Silent, deadly. He got that right. In Venezuela, U.S. sanctions had led to the economy shrinking by 80% in just 6 years. Once South America's wealthiest country, it is now one of the poorest in the world. In 2019, over 96% of the families in the country were classified as living in poverty. 25% of the population needed humanitarian assistance. And let's not forget, both Iran and Venezuela are only two targets on that long list of 36 active sanction programs the U.S. currently operates. There are also Iraq, Lebanon, Libya, Belarus, Cuba, South Sudan, Syria, and the DPRK, and the list goes on and on. Let's look at Iran, which has been sanctioned by Washington for over 4 decades. While the aim is to resolve the nuclear impasse between Iran and the West, the sanctions have ravaged the Iranian economy and led to widespread suffering. As the Trump administration abandoned the Iran nuclear deal in 2018, it subsequently imposed what it is called the maximum pressure on Tehran. The American government claimed food and drugs would not be on the embargo list, but that claim has been proven nothing but a sham. The sanctions led to severe shortages of medicines in Iran since 2018. That has left over 6 million patients in the country who struggle with cancer, blood disorders, diabetes, and other life-threatening diseases, fighting for their lives under drug scarcities. That situation has only been made even dire by the COVID-19 pandemic.
و الان که توی وضعیت کرونا هستیم، داروی رمدیسیور که خیلی مهم هستش، داروی مثل رسیژن که بسیار مهم هستش، بعد یه داروی به اسم فاویپیراویر که برای کنترل ویروس خیلی مهمه. دنیا یه دهکده جهانیه، همه به هم دیگه نیازمندیم. ما هم به این داروها نیاز داریم، چون تولید اصلیش تو کشورهایی هستش که بیشترین تولید کنندش هستن. متاسفانه شرایط تحریم باعث شده که حالا ورودش به کشور با مشکل مواجه میشیم.
Today, the U.S. remains the world's largest economy and the only country able to project military power globally. And oftentimes, under the guise of promoting democracy, it has cultivated hegemony, leaving a trail of bloodshed and turmoil around the world.